Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this very sunny, at least here at Pinewoods. It is sunny and somewhat warm, which we're really excited about after a long winter. But thank you for joining us. Tonight's program is the last of our Winter Zoom series for the 2026 season. It's the origins of the Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers, and we are very, very excited to have them with us. So thank you. And before we get started, we just want to let you know that the other programs that we did earlier this year, telling your archive story, and also our queer camp programs. Those are all on our YouTube channel. And Beth will drop that in the chat, but also our past programs are also from previous years are in the YouTube channel, so you can see that. Before we go ahead and get started, I just want to thank the Mass Cultural Council and the local cultural councils that we receive funding to help with this program and some of our other program where we're partnering with our Indigenous neighbors, which are Kingston, Plymouth, Bourne, and also the Herring Pond Wampanoag Cultural Council. So thank you to all of them. And then with that, we want to start the session and the program off tonight with our land acknowledgement, which was written in 2022 with the assistance of Jonathan James Perry and Leah Hopkins. So we'll go ahead and read that. As we start this program, we would like to recognize the land that we call Pinewoods today. Before we begin this acknowledgement, sit quietly for a moment to reflect on the towering pine trees, the sun shining through the leaves, and the ripples on the ponds. We honor and thank the Wampanoag Nation, whose traditional and unceded lands we gather on at camp. We are grateful for their stewardship of this land across hundreds of generations. We extend our gratitude to the waters of Long Pond, Round Pond, and the land and trees that sit between them. We are fortunate to share in the beauty of this place, and we take responsibility for sharing the traditions of stewardship for generations to come. We honor and thank our neighbors, the sovereign Wampanoag communities of Herring Pond, Mashpee, and Aquinnah. We celebrate their deep and ongoing relationship with this land and recognize their resilience in the face of violence and persistent discrimination. We affirm our commitment to build authentic relationships with our Indigenous partners and neighbors and engage in respectful allyship through our actions. Our progress toward these goals is ongoing, and we're excited about our current projects, growing partnerships, and the work that lies ahead. And if you want to learn more about what we're doing, you can always send me an email at executivedirector@pinewoods.org. But also on our website, Beth is going to drop the link, which talks about our land acknowledgement, but a land acknowledgement is more than words, right? It's the action steps. And so you can see our commitments as an organization there. So thank you for listening. With that, we're going to turn it over to, I'm very excited for this, the Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers, and I'll take it away.
Kwikwasin, everyone. Nataswis Nanawita Ka Kitty Hendricks, Nutamas Mississippiat, Natai Mississippiat. I am called Kitty Hendricks. My spirit name is Nanawita, which was given to me back in the 60s by Chief Fine Eagle. And I am a Mashpee Wampanoag, and I also am blessed to be able to live here in Mashpee. And I will let this person off to my left introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Appreciate your interest in our group. My name is Nosa Pocket. I'm also known as Ramona Peters. I'm from the Bear Clan and the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. And I'm the founding member of the Wampanoag Nation Singers and Dancers.
Oh, is it me?
That's you.
Oh, okay. That's what it needs to be Concocuawak. That's my spirit name. My American sized name is Troy Currents. I'm a Harding from the Heron Pond community. I've been with the Wampanoag Nation Singers and Dancers by about 20 years, and one of my first times ever dancing was a long time ago with Ramona at Uptuxet, a long, long time ago. I think my daughter might have been like 2 or 3.
And
Wanina Khan, Natasuis Kisik Elm. Hello, everyone. My name is Growing Elm, and I also go by Siobhan Brown, and I'm sort of a newer member of the group, and happy to be here with everybody tonight.
so to start off with our, I guess, origin story, I just wanted to say that Ramona, I just have to be so grateful and thankful to her for inviting me into the group. And I remember my first practice at your house.
Oh,
And even though wasn't really singing these songs per se as much as I probably should have, but they all felt like they were innate. And I just started singing along and it was all like I knew them. But I want to at this time have Ramona share her remembrances and how this all came about.
well, there was I wish I could remember the year, but I don't. It must have been around 1979 or something, or even earlier. No, it's earlier than that. Before my own daughter was born. Like, so I'm sorry, it was a while ago that we as a Mashpees mainly, it started off with a thought with 2 Mashpees, that would have been Alice Lopez and myself. We were talking about Eastern presence. Most people think of Native Americans, they think of the Southwest or the Northwest or the Plains, but they hardly ever think of us here in the East. And here in the East, we use a water drum, which Kitty will introduce you to later, which is it has a lot of relevance or importance in our culture to emulate the water in our bodies, to connect not only our voices, but our movements with the natural world. It's like a reunion through song. And we talked about maybe sharing that with other people who are interested. We invited a couple of really good singers, Nana Pashmet, and Pamakoshin, Darryl Wixon. We invited them because they were also traditionalists and they have regalia. And so we do dress in regalia when we go out. And we would explain and talk about what we're wearing and why. Both Pamakoshin and Nanapashmet came from different tribes, and so we weren't Mashpees. So we thought we named ourselves Wampanoags because that's the overall nation of which we come from. We sing Eastern songs, and some of them come from other Eastern tribes other than Wampanoag. There are social songs and not songs that are ceremonial or anything like that. And social songs are meant to enjoy with our friends and neighbors. And so that's what we invite people to do. We refuse to be performers. We insisted that if you want to dance, if you invite us to your school or wherever, you are going to dance with us, because that's the way we do things. And we were sharing the cultural experience with you. So that was kind of the rules or the way of which we did things. Yeah, that's what I could say for now.
Okay. Beautiful about the drum and all. Okay, so sharing these songs and sharing them amongst us as a community is especially important so that these songs never ever leave the people. And the evolution since the early days, and it was maybe we'd have 4 or 5 performances a year, in the beginning, and different annual events, different travel events that we would do, that we would look forward to, and people would look forward to us coming and be able to dance together and share these songs. Since I've been a part of the group, and if it's been 20 years for you, it's probably been 30 or 40 years for me. And it doesn't seem like that. It just seems like yesterday. Always look forward to it and just really engaging. At the end of most of our performances, if you want to call them performances, and there are a lot of sharing, people are smiling, people are filled with joy. And like we have known these people, even if it's an audience of 200 or 300, you can just feel that the energy that was just shared, and it's very personal, sometimes very personal. And then of course there are performances that feel like performances, or what they expect certain things, and what we tell them is always, we're not here to dance for you, we're here to dance with you. But I would like to ask Troy if he'd like to share a little bit, because I know he's going to move on to another meeting. So if you want to share your experience, Troy.
So for me, when I first came around and seeing the Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers, it was inspiring for me to see our own people dancing and singing our songs, and the energy that they shared and that you could feel, and there was that pride with it, and it just felt like a special group. And I kind of hung around a little bit waiting my turn to see if I was going to be invited, and eventually I was. And I was nervous. I didn't really feel like I knew what I was doing, but it's almost like in your DNA, and the melodies and the songs were just there. You just had to wake them up. And it was beautiful. It was a really good experience. It helped me connect also with our culture, and I I can't even put it in words of what it's done for me and the people around me, my family, and my community, and the connections that we share as kins between the other nations and villages and stuff. So
I didn't know you were a groupie.
secret
Groupie over here. Yeah, so eventually Alice, I believe Alice Lopez, one of the founding members, and asked Troy, and she kept mentioning, what about some herring ponders?
Yeah.
Because we like to represent a Wampanoag Nation as a whole. We do have the 3 major bands of Wampanoag today, and they are Herring Pond, Katamatash, Pishkanash, Troy.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for coming in.
Bye.
Yep, Mashpee, of course, we are the largest in number. And then the Aquina Wampanoag on Martha's Vineyard. And of course, we're all over the world. We don't just all live in Mashpee. And then Herring Pond, which is in the Bourne area. So we like to represent all of the Wampanoag Nation as much as possible. So with the evolution, and when I call it evolution, we're growing. Our gigs are growing in numbers, and we have to, try to make it to all of them. And of course, we all have full-time jobs, and I'm sure as many of you as performers understand those challenges with holding it down a job that you probably love or don't love, but also doing something that's really close to your heart and something you really, really enjoy. So we did get a little bit busy throughout the years, and today we've kind of joined the ranks of being kind of professional. We have a website now. We've done, I know before my day, didn't you guys go to England, was it?
Some of us went to France.
France, yeah,
Right,
it was
yeah.
international at that point.
Right, we've been to Bermuda. I think
It's about, yeah. And going to England as members of the group for the
Yes.
play.
right.
Yeah.
Some of our members were in, and
So
some of those same songs, I think, were sung in that play, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of singer
Yes.
dancer participation in the play. And Vonnie, do you mind just sharing your experience and also maybe talk a little bit about We Are the Land at this point?
Sure, sure, Katapatash. It's so good to hear about the early days of the group. I probably um, joined about 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. And I grew up in Boston. I grew up in the city, so I was what we call an urban Wampanoag, growing up in the city, but coming to Mashpee, where my mother is from and grandmother, and coming here a lot, and I live here now. But when I was living in the city, I do remember, seeing the group in Boston Common. At one point, I was just walking through the Common, and it was part of the Fishweir project there on Tremont Street. And seeing the group and seeing everyone in regalia, and it just really gave me a renewed sense of home and connected me, to the land there. Um, Even though, it wasn't Mashpee, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. You know, this is where Wampanoag was spoken. This is where these songs were sung. And so that connection to um, singing and dancing, um, and in regalia and with our instruments. I just was very curious about it, and heard about an open rehearsal, and came in and sat around the table and played with everyone. Same thing, I didn't really know the songs in detail, but once sitting with the group, it does something does come forward. There's a connection, and it really helped me with at a time when I was looking for balance, and there was a lot of support in singing the songs and dances at that time. And then when I moved down here, it became obviously a little bit easier being closer, to participate with more gigs and more things, events where the group was invited. Um, Part of this current history movement, we are seeing a lot of we're seeing a lot of celebrations, a lot of anniversaries. So 2020 brought us to the 400th anniversary of the Mayflower arriving on our shores here, and so we were invited to um, participate in devising a performance piece, to share our side of the story. Initially, there was someone hired who's not native to write that story, and the members of the group, called that in and said, I think we're, certainly capable of writing our own play, which we then did. We had a lovely group of about 15 come together to write a piece that shared our story and took the audience through important key moments in history. And of course, it was, told from our perspective. And, Troy and Miss Kitty were involved in that. And we were in partnership with the Theatre Royal in Plymouth in the UK, and invited there to perform it. And then we did what was called a week takeover. So we arrived and did the play. And then each evening there was an offering from our group, um, to share the different aspects or on topics that are important to us. So there was sharing about the work of the Native Land Conservancy, which Ramona is a founder of, and different projects that some of the artists in the play are doing. And then when we brought it back over here, we performed in Boston at the Majestic Theater, as well as here on Cape Cod at Cape Cod Community College. So, We Are the Land is the title of the play, and it's a one-act play that does include some of our songs and dances.
That was an experience of a lifetime.
Yeah.
We were scheduled, actually, it was 2020 to go over, and lo and behold, some more sickness happened. So, and actually that's kind of what set off really putting it back in our lap. Throw away that old script. They even made a soundtrack.
Yeah.
But they just gave us the opportunity, and we went with it. And just the way that it was created with sticky notes and ideas, and I'm like, where's the script? And it was just the process that I wasn't familiar with, not being in the theater world. I mean, singing in choruses here and there, but that whole process was just like, we just got so into it and so much love for what we're doing. And when we just like, when's the next production? Because we just love the camaraderie in the community that we created, and just bringing it out there. And we didn't have professional actors. We were just people, everyday people in the tribe, and it was really great. So we look forward to our next performance. And we go to our website and see some reminiscences of some photos. And there's also ways to donate so that we can put those monies in the coffers for our next production. So that's kind of our evolution to performing these songs and being able to incorporate them on a world stage like that. Because we were the soundtrack, right? And most of the participants were from the Wampanoag singers and dancers and other, very important people in our community. So we talk about performing for the public, different venues, museums, schools, of course. And once the word gets around, one of our tribal members, Anawan Whedon, does a lot of work as he travels in schools and does classroom presentations. We all work together at Plymouth Plantation at some point. And we learned a lot about how our ancestors moved in this space. And we try to teach that to the children. And it's in the frameworks for Massachusetts. So the third graders need to learn about Wampanoag social studies and history. And I believe it's fifth graders as well. So we have a lot of requests from teachers to do these classroom presentations. And we've gone from classroom of 20 to the last one we did that was about 400 plus kids. And so how do you adapt what we do when we dance with a small group of people or partners, a partner dance? How do we do that with all these grade school children? Sitting very patiently and wanting to learn about Indians and, very, very thirsty for knowledge, and that's the responsibility that we carry. And so what we do is we usually call out the youngest members to do a very easy circle dance, or it's called a round dance, also called friendship dance. And that is easy because you're in a circle and you hold hands, and usually the younger ones have no qualms about holding each other's hands, not like it is when you're in fifth and sixth grade. They all stand there with their hands close to their sides.
Yeah.
We want the energy just to keep passing on from person to person, because we are creating good medicine at that point. And so we call out the younger ones to do this very, very easy circle dance where you step to the left, you step to the right in a circle. And then we have other dances that are simple. Most of our dances are, because we don't want to make it hard for people to want to come and join us and dance. So we have one that's called the Mosquito, which is a partner dance. And the whole point is to keep your body in motion. You know what? I'd love to hear what your explanation. How do you explain that dance?
Mosquitoes.
Keep the mosquitoes off of you?
Right. We learned that dance from some of our tribal peoples from the north, up in Maine. Now they have something worse, they have black flies, but
Oh,
they also have bigger mosquitoes than we do. So they would, that's where that song, so hooking the little fingers is sort of like the stinger of the mosquito. So we're keeping it sort of curled, so it's not in a stinging mode. But the dance involves a lot of coordination where you're facing each other and kicking, jumping and kicking and jumping and kicking. And the idea is that if you don't kick each other, you may make it through the summer without ever getting stung by a mosquito. It's a challenge, but it's fun and it is a little strenuous for elders, but
Mhm.
some of them will dig it out and they'll go out there and do their little kicks. But it's a fun dance.
And the kids get loud because they're having so much fun. And I always have to remind them, I know this is fun, but you can't hear the beat and we can't hear each other singing. So yeah, so we just kind of progress to different songs for different grade levels. And that's one way of managing it. And we give it a hard try, and you never know. Every type of school is different. The kids are all different, but they really all try to listen as much as they can. And I believe that they enjoy hearing the description of the songs. It's really interesting. So the frameworks call for that, and that really helps spread the education, making it more a deeper understanding for small ones to understand it and to be part of it. They'll probably remember that for the most of their lives. I would imagine. I would. So that is like when you talk about unifying nature of things and the unifying nature of what you're doing, and you have that, the unification is the want to be able to spread that feeling, blessed feeling of that comes with music and comes with singing and dancing. So that's I believe, which is a unifying nature of what we do. And it's also with all these educators today, they want the truth, and they feel like they're very lucky to have us, at arms, readiness to come to their school and also to do these programs. And so there's a huge interest right now. So hopefully, with different funding and different grants that we can keep it going, keep this work going. And I think that is what a lot of us rely on in the performance kind of world that we live in. So how are you doing?
I would only add that the togetherness that Petey is talking about in the songs, some of our songs like Robin Dance, Stomp Dance, there's a call and response. And the people who are there are expected to respond. So, and they don't always do it, but they can sing as well with us. So we have a lead singer who will start the song and then you'll hear what the response is supposed to be. And so from then on out, you should make those calls. And it's fun. Alligator dance the same way. And so it brings you even more involved in the motion and in the animal at which you're or bird that you're emulating. And so yeah, it's good fun.
It's good fun, and it's a lot of people say, what language are you singing in, or what do the words mean? And like they mean nothing because they're vocables. So that makes it even easier for the responses to work.
Yeah, social dance.
Social dances. And then they say, well, a lot of people, oh, what's a vocable? And you probably know it from singing the carols, fa la 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 la. That is a vocable. So that really helps them to understand what their participation is expected of them. Yeah. So what do you Bonnie, did you want to add? Anytime, chime in.
Sure. I really like what's when approaching the songs, because I know sometimes vocables were happening in songs because we couldn't speak our language. That sometimes it was at a time it was not legal to speak Wampanoag on Wampanoag land, and so or in other areas here in the Northeast. And so when we're hearing the vocables, sometimes I like to try and imagine like what was being said in this moment, or try to envision, what the message of each song may have been. And sometimes, it really is that, the vibration of the voice that really, brings us all together, and that the instruments really help to lift that up when we're doing our dances, particularly with people that we've just met. It kind of is a good, it sort of breaks down barriers, and kind of disarms people a little bit, so that we can just come together and be in the circle, or be in a call and response, and hear from everybody that's there.
Maybe this is a good segue to showing the videos.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a couple of videos.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that first one would be the Concord Museum, where we go to every Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yeah.
Um,
That's been a good 10, 12 years now, 15. It's a family event that's usually during the Indigenous Peoples Day workshop. The background.
nice.
This one is Celebrity Series. Where was this? What town was this in?
this was in Cambridge. Um, I'm forgetting the local. Oh, Multicultural Arts Center in Cambridge. There it is, right on the video. But this is one of our newer songs,
Yeah.
that is in the language.
Yeah, so that was a couple of performances, and it's great that we have our song. We have a song now, because we have always been respectful in sharing the songs that when we learned them and how we learned them and why we sing them. And it's important to, now we have our language returned to, well, not returned to us. It was never gone. It's underground and it's come back to the people. And so we have a songmakers workshop coming up for the group and some other tribal members to create more music, maybe, just do it in different thoughtful ways outside, feeling what inspires you. So that's coming up. And so do we have the last 5 minutes for Q&A? Oh, the drum, yes.
Yeah, I think you have time to show some of the instruments and
Okay.
talk about them, and then we'll wrap up, and then we'll go into a Q&A.
Okay.
Great, thanks.
This is the water drum. And this one is, do you want to explain it? Or did you make
So
these before?
So it's made so that there's a little plug on the side, so there's a place to put some water, not a lot, but enough so that you can turn it upside down and wet the head. So it changes the pitch. These water drums can be heard out from, if you do it outside, it's like a mile away, you could hear these drums.
We have to stretch deer skin on the head of the drum.
Yeah.
See if we can get anything from him. Wasn't doing it a little while ago. Gonna tighten it up a little bit. But we'll work on that.
Yeah.
And so we have different rattles. Now, I think, is that your sign right there?
Yeah.
Ramona is a potter, also different artist, and made many different things.
So yeah, this is a rattle that I made for we sang so much sometimes they would break. So I made a steady series of these. I worked in a boatyard and I got some exotic woods. So these are really mahogany,
That's nice.
actual mahogany horn rattle. And so inside are little metal pellets.
Oh, yeah.
BBs, so that they don't break down through use. Yeah, so that's
This is one of my favorite OG rattles. It's a corn cob plug, and it's a gourd. And I think this one with the seeds because you let it dry naturally. Right. So that's that. Of course, we weren't waiting for the metal BBs to come, and we would create different ones. And then I made this one today because the last one I had broke. This is just a quahog shell. It's a hard shell clam, and there are BBs inside and it's glued together. So it's a handshaker. And then this is the kids' favorite. The turtle, the box turtle rattle. And this is really cool. It has a few things incorporated. Of course, the land, the box turtle, and there's deer skin. There's also some, I think that might be rabbit fur, and some deer skin fringe on it. And there were little feathers here. So you had the sky, the land, water represented in this rattle. So those are the rattles that we brought with us tonight. And we also sometimes, a lot of modern type instruments, like the hand drum was from the West. I didn't bring that, but there's buffalo drums. That, you'll see a lot of hand drum competitions in powwows. And the powwow drum is a very large drum that is more for several people or men usually to sit around. Oh, there's Bonnie's got her hand drum. Is that buffalo, Bonnie? Probably.
It's hide, yeah, cow hide, yeah.
So I know elk drum heads. Let's hear it. Oh, it has a nice tone.
Yeah.
Very nice. So they react to the atmosphere.
right.
So if it's rainy weather, your skin's gonna not be constricted because you need hot or heat to constrict the skin. So there's different type hand drums, different size ones. And but we were so blessed because we For some reason, we didn't have a water drum for a little while. We had one that was PVC pipe and it worked really good. But this one that was given to us by Jonathan Perry, actually. And he's like, well, I want my drum back. And we're like, okay, you'll get it back. It's a pipe.
Yeah.
PVC, you can make another one. But this one was gifted to us from Marlene Lopez, from her father, who was our sachem. And he passed silent drum, passed what, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And this was his drum. And she gifted it to us. So we're very, very happy to have it. And it still getting to know it, still learning these little, things that you need to do and ways to handle it.
Yeah, I want to say one thing about the
I'm trying to
Wampanoag
stretch
Nation
this.
Singers and Dancers. This group has been together over 50 years, and they have helped other tribal members that, some of our tribal members have been culturally deprived, not by their own choice, but they didn't live with us, or they weren't around the circle. Some of their families just didn't get the exposure. So because we exist, they got the exposure in public spaces, and they can take ownership of these, and they do. And that's something we didn't anticipate. It wasn't a part of a plan or anything, but I love seeing, 100 of my people or more doing these dances together, and knowing the songs, and participating. As a kid, it was really hard to get anyone to participate. But so I can see that there's the influence has been throughout our communities, and not just Mashpee, but Aquinnah as well. They're singing these songs, and I think the Herring Pond are. It's around. Maybe even the Nipmucks, and I've heard some of our songs even up in Maine. Passamaquoddies and Penobscots are singing similar, almost the same. So it's been a beautiful thing, and thank you for listening.
It also talk, intergenerational. Like right now, sometimes it's just a whole bunch of us old folks up there. So we try to recruit, and right now we need some young adults to join in the group. So recruitments can be hard, kids are in school, people work, and people that just never thought they could sing should maybe give it a chance.
Yeah.
Let me see if we get the drum. Turn up a little.
There's much water there.
Yeah, I'm not
I
sure
know.
why we're not hearing the instruments.
We're gonna have to come to one of our performances.
Yes, it's a teaser. Yeah, I think maybe the background noise is off or something. But yeah, but it's nice to see them all. I didn't know that was Rattle was from Ramona, so
Yeah, I have some Daryl rattles and Ramona rattles.
beautiful, beautiful. So should we go to questions?
Yeah, and so thank you so much. Before we jump into questions, I just want to say thank you again and remind folks that if you didn't get to see or if you joined late, this will be posted to our YouTube channel. And I also just want to thank the previous presenters from the series. We have Discover Your Pinewoods Archive. That was with Joe Rassi and Susan Creighton. And then last month was creating inclusive queer-centered events at Pinewoods, and that was with Queer Tango Boston, La Nuestra Tango, and the Lavender Country and Folk Dancers. And so those will also be posted to our YouTube channel. Beth will drop that into our into the chat. And we want to thank again the Mass Cultural Council, the local cultural councils of Plymouth, Kingston, Bourne, and the Herring Pond Wampanoag Tribal Council for supporting this program and other partnerships that we're doing with our local Indigenous friends and neighbors. And so thank you to them. And then if you'd like to make a donation to the Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers, we certainly encourage you to do so. And the Beth will drop that link in to the chat feature as well. And so thank you again to Beth, our amazing tech person. So thank you, Beth Regan, who's our assistant camp manager. So thank you, Beth. With that, we'll turn it over questions, and you can either drop a question in the chat. It will go to Beth and I, and we'll ask the question, or you can just simply raise your hand using the little react. There's a little heart at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can raise your hand and ask questions that way. I have a question about the rattles. So prior to BBs, what types of materials were used um, to include and make inside the rattles? What was the traditional wood, and then what was used inside the rattles?
Stones.
Yeah,
Oh,
Smoke.
stones. Ah.
I guess shards of shells maybe, but no, they would be too sharp, wouldn't they? For the skin.
Yeah, depending on which ones. We also used cedar bark rattles.
No, I had one, I couldn't.
And so, yeah, those would, your little pebbles inside. It makes a nice sound.
Mm.
So,
We have a question from Summer. Go ahead, Summer, and ask your question.
Thank you. Hi, Kitty. Um, I just have a very broad question. Hi, Siobhan.
Summer,
And
summer.
this might be very different for all of you. But I was just wondering, you all have done so much over the years. I was wondering what each of you felt like your greatest accomplishment in doing this work has been. So again, very broad, and I know you just do so much and have done so much, but like, what's one thing that you are really proud of? Like Ramona talked about, just seeing people who have not been had as much access to their culture and just being like that access point for some people. But just like along those lines, anything that sticks out to you all?
well, along with that same thing, I noticed that the local town folk that are not native feel good about knowing us this way. I think unintentional ambassadors to because we've held hands with them or they've participated in some way, they feel a connection to the tribe, which they didn't before, maybe not in a
Yeah.
without fear, there's always these ways that people have imaginations or whatever, but when somebody says, "Oh, let's go and do, the rabbit dance with come on out and let's do this." It's a nice accomplishment too, I would say, for this group.
For me, it's pretty much when Linda Coombs used to do the booking. And so we have our rattle bag. It has the rattle and the drums and everything. She handed it to me. And so I took that job over, but I was honored to be for doing that. I don't know, maybe because I seemed like I was organized at the time. I don't know why. But so I've been doing that for a while.
Yeah.
And that accomplishment, just the payoff alone, having Ramona honor me with one of her pots. Now that was worth all of those years of calling people to come do a gig or to remind them and to send out reminders and do all the things that comes with managing a group. So that was all worth it.
Oh, well, you do it so well. You do it
Yes.
very well.
So that was it. And I wish I brought the pot with me because it's quite beautiful to be honored in that way.
I can jump in. Thank you for that question, Summer. Um, I think for me it was actually, doing the play with so many members of the group. I've been trained to in theater. It was my major in college, and so I was taught storytelling from a very specific lens, and I was able to put that aside and be able to participate in a process that was really just nurturing and generative, and I could tell that everyone involved just really felt the importance of it. And there was one time when we were overseas and we were all on a bus moving from one point to the other, and we just started singing um, one of the round dances in the bus. And I clicked record on my phone, just and I listened to it from time to time because we were hitting harmonies. We were, there was no, oh, we'll just do 4 rounds. There was no preparation for it. It's just one of those impromptu. And I feel like that's the role that, music and singing, plays for us, that when there is that need to come together, when there is that inspiration, everyone supports that inspiration. And we were able to, sing that song and raise those vibrations, on another land. And that just, I feel like helped ground and root a lot of the younger members in the group who were really having a good time.
That's lovely, lovely. Uh, so we have a question in the chat, which we'll ask after Peter. Peter's had his hand up. So Peter, go ahead with your question.
Thank you all. Can you hear me okay? Thank you all very much. I'm wondering if have you have a meet? You know,
It was very muffled. I couldn't hear.
Yes, it's a little bit muffled, Peter. Can you try again?
His mic is off.
Well, you know what, Peter, while you're working on that, we will go to a question in the chat. So Krista would like to know about the Wampanoag Language Reclamation Project, and if the Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers are involved with that at all, or are any of the members involved?
At one time or another. I've taken a few classes, but Bonnie was very much so. She's actually a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what brought me to Mashpee, working with WLRP as part of their teacher apprentice program. So, I was studying the language since 2005. I had taken my first class, and then we were a team of us came together to open a school, Wampanoag Language and Culture School, which is called Weedamoo School, and it still exists today and is there at the tribal grounds. And WLRP continues to offer classes um, for beginner speakers or more advanced speakers. They do language camps. Um, we often look to language and to speakers for when we're making new songs as well, so that we can hear the language as well as our songs and our dances. And just a little history about the language. It was, as Miss Kitty mentioned, it wasn't spoken for quite some time, and it was about 100 years since the last fluent speaker um, was with us, and so it was very important for us to welcome language back home again, and for us to sort of call it forward within us as a tribe. Um, I've taught, as young as 3 years old, and I've also taught in the elders classes that are held at our community center, and it's just always just an honor to be present in different different tribal members and their language journey. Because when we look around us, Wampanoag language is everywhere, and it really all the different offerings that are made with WLRP are really really important and important to the singers and dancers group as well.
Excellent, thanks. All right. And Peter messaged his question, which is, have you come to share your singing at Pinewoods? And a few of you were just here at Pinewoods on Wednesday, Earth Day, during our cleanup, and it was wonderful to um, give you a tour. And so, Kitty, you've been here a few times, a couple of times now, I believe, on a tour of camp, and our hopes that we'll be able to partner with the Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers, and they also have an artist collective, right? The artist collective is under Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers, and feel free, Kitty and Siobhan, to talk about that a little bit. But I think there's some amazing potential partnerships and opportunities down the road.
I'm just gonna say I can't wait for our retreat. And we are gonna sing and dance there in August, right?
We're hoping in August, yes, and then right, and so in the fall, in October, Pine Cones is our winterized building, and it's a perfect size for the Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers to come and be able to just have a special spot to come and be in community together, and then use the new Biggin Pavilion to do some work. And so we're looking forward to that. And there's lots. We're working on the Nature Nook, which for those of you who were here at camp last year, it's a special area for folks to connect with nature and just be hands-on. And obviously anywhere at Pinewoods and on the ponds, but just a special spot that folks can go sing. We received a small grant last year from the Herring Pond Wampanoag Cultural Council. And so we have some indigenous book buckets there, and some reading spots, and we've planted a bunch of native species surrounding that. One of our campers who's actually on gave us some pawpaw to also plant there. So we're really excited to continue our education and our partnership. So yeah, and um, And before we go, I'll just quickly share, we read our land acknowledgement, but what's really important um, is that this is some of our ongoing work. And these are kind of our guiding principles, educating ourselves and our community about our Indigenous neighbors, past and present. And we have folks that come from all over the world and come from all over the country um, to come to Pinewoods. And we want them to um, be engaged with their Indigenous communities in when they're at home and to learn and to just be curious. And then another one of our principles is to uplift Indigenous voices and having programs such as this so that we can learn and hear. And then making space for Indigenous people to come to camp. And that is by having Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers come and do a retreat. And also, we have BIPOC scholarships. And last year, I guess it was last December, we worked with Herring Pond and Mass Wildlife, and they learned to process deer. And they invited other tribes from around the state to come participate. And then also, what's really important is developing stewardship of the land and relationships with our Indigenous neighbors, and asking for their thoughts and opinions and their perspective. So it's not a land acknowledgement, it's these guiding principles. So, yeah.
Did we have time? We wanted to do a song, but because we were in different locations, that wasn't going to happen. But did you want to say something about Natakiman, or I could do a little bit of the ending of the prayer for every time? The singing part, maybe?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I can just quickly describe, yeah, as was mentioned, when we did the play, the title is We Are the Land. And once that was sort of having a little bit of a life after we came back from England, we did it in Boston, and then down here, there has been a lot of interest in not just the play, but also the different artists involved with the play. Everyone, every member of the cast also has, another artistic offering that they bring to our community. And so myself, Miss Kitty, and one of the members of the cast, Michelle St. John, we formed Natakiman Artist Collective, um, and Natakiman translates to We Are the Land, and the land is us. It's actually sort of an inalienable ending to that phrase that ties us, that the land is us, and we are the land. Um, and the collective is a program of the singers and dancers right now. The singers and dancers are 501(c)(3), and with the collective, we are seeking to uplift Wampanoag voices through storytelling and the arts. And right now, we are doing a regular writers group for Wampanoag women and Two-Spirit individuals to come together and share and support one another in the writing process. And as Miss Kitty said, we have a songwriting workshop coming up, as well as some other workshops in the works. So being able to support people, other tribal members, and their artistic life, because we know it's the arts that usually get cut first. And as we've seen with a lot of the changes and some of the government funding, we just want to find ways to be a support and be a resource for Wampanoag artists. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you, Miss Kitty.
I just thought this, one person song, I guess, it's a little bit of the ending of one of our thankful prayers for all time. And Tootie Coombs actually did the tunes to the words to the end of it. Mana wani kahanachi katapatanamu wati wami kyakwasani ananamanaya namana wipi wanika ananamanaya Wichi wapi sopwa Hail, hey, hail. Thank you.
Thank you, Kitty. Thank you, Siobhan. And please say thank you to Ramona and Troy for us. That was lovely. And we really do hope that Pinewoods can be a space that Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers can use, especially in the off season for retreats and for the collective, and be able to also, one of our goals someday is to have a residency over the summer and having different artists come and share your knowledge and your perspective and your thoughts. That's our big goal and dream. And so, and also have Pinewoods be, one of the questions that came in is, you talked about learning some of your culture, right? Some of your members, that there's been that cultural loss, and how can that be taught? And that learning to process deer, that was a great example, and we hope that Pinewoods can be a source of a space for gatherings and community. So thank you all so much. Again, for everyone that joined us, thank you for joining us. And if you'd like to make a donation to the Wampanoag Nation singers and dancers, the link was put into the chat, and you can visit their website as well. And thank you, Beth. And be sure to look in about a week or so, and this should be up on our YouTube channel. So thank you.
You. And the tribal boys want to do a big weekend there too.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.